Hello there, folks. Hey, this is Joe Wazoo here. Hey, this video I thought I'd build a little more on my ASCII protocol thing where you can use the find and length and mid and strip and left and right commands to decipher a string sentence you might get. So in this case, I've got an application. This is actually a pretty cool little thing you can do in Crimson 3.2. You can build this whole application if you want in the emulator and try it out. So I'm going to walk through how it works, and you'll see, and you can stop the video and build this at the same time if you want, or you can just email me and I'll send you this database and you can play with it as well. But let me go ahead and download this to the emulator and I'll show you what happens here. Say yes. All right, so my goal is to put in a sentence. You know, I'm trying to make this simple. So if I looked at any sentence you might see in English, if you will, most time you start with a capital letter and we put spaces between words, and at the end we put a period. So this my string right here is just a string, and I could click here and I can say let me go put my cursor here. I can go to the case now. I don't know, piece fridge, beer. We'll say the fridge is out of now with the later. Got to kind of type, really type. You got to do this. Whoops, let me turn that phone off. Okay, so it was out of. So if I like this, for instance, and I put a at the end, there's it, boom, and there's my sentence. Now, you can do that. You can put your own in. I found something interesting on the internet. I never knew this, but there is a sentence called "The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog." You see this all the time, and I always wondered what the heck that was. Well, that sentence uses all the letters of the alphabet, as stupid as the sentence is, but that's what it does. So what I did here, team, look at this. I created over and left, this is the first thing you can do here. I went to programs, I created a new program, I called it load default, and I simply typed this string right here. I simply typed my string, space, equals, space, double quotations, and then I typed that out. The quick brown fox jumps over the lazy dog, period, end quotations, and a semicolon. And when you do that in here, and you go to translate, this green button here is to compile, it's going to ask you to declare it as a string. And that will show up in your data tags as a string type. So I've got that there. If I go back to my emulator, here I am, this red button here is nothing more than a button that calls, and that button, just so you know, in Crimson is going to be over in display pages. If you go to the right side in primitives, go to the home directory of your primitives, and if you slide all the way down to the bottom, the second row from the bottom is a bevel button. Click on that. Any of these, you drag it out, and then if you just double click on it, go to properties, you're going to change the text to say load string. And on the action tab, down here in the on released, you'll simply go over to the right, go to programs, and you'll grab this load default, drag right there. And then anytime I press that button, it's going to load the sentence. So watch, let me go back to here. I'm going to hit the load string, boom. There it is, okay? So there's the string. Now, let's say, for instance, the whole goal of this is I want to find, for instance, maybe the word fox in here, okay? So I can click on the search tab here, and I can put fox, uppercase, lowercase. I'm not really worried about that. So there's the word fox right there. Okay. Now, let me go back to Crimson real quick. That search field is nothing more than an ASCII string, and it's a string tag called search. Okay. I did a couple things here. I did the search and the my string. I made both of those be retentive, and I set them both up to hold 300 characters. That way, if you're downloading the emulator, you don't have to keep entering that. It'll keep it in there. That's why I did that. So I made them both 300 characters maximum, and I set it for retentive. So that's the search field. Now, if I want to search in here, find that word fox, there's some steps or some procedures that I got to do to make this happen. First off, I got step number 1 here. And step number 1 is going to call this program here. It's going to find out the full length of the string. How long is that string that comes in? So if I go back to my emulator, hit step 1, boom. Apparently, That whole string is 44 characters long, including the period at the end and all the spaces. Now, the next thing to look at here, in the English language, if I was writing a sentence, how can we tell how many words are in here? Well, we need to find wherever there's a space, because most time in the English language, when you have a space between words, that's the way you separate words, unless it's a long German word. Those words have a gazillion letters in them. But here, we put a space between all of our words. So in that case, I need to count how many spaces are in here. So if I go back to Crimson, I want to show you something here. If I go to step number two, I created a for loop. I did a for, j equals 0 starts at j less than the length, which we know is 44, and then it increments letter j each time. And then down here, I have a array of tags called comma local with the block j, means it's an array type, and that's going to be an integer. If you look over here, you can see it's an x. That means it's an integer. And I'm using the find function to do this, okay? And the find function can be found in the lower right-hand corner. Go to System, expand your functions tree, and then I think, team, if you go down and expand the strings category, you're going to see there's a function right here called find. You can always right-click on that and do show help info, and it should open up the PDF. My laptop seems to be having a problem with Acrobat, so I'm not going to do it. But anyway, it'll open up and show you how to use it. And what the find does is it says, hey, find, you put whatever strings in here, and then you declare a character, and then a comma, and then the J will start the first time it finds it, the second time, the third, until it comes back to -1, which means then it hasn't found anymore, and it's reached the end of the string. So here's a space, by the way. I got a single quotations, does that. So if I go back to Crimson, by the way, the emulator will close after 15 minutes. Hopefully I'm done talking about this video by then. If I hit the step button, look, it found 8 spaces in here, and in here the array elements where it found the space. So for instance, the first one it says is at element 3. Well, the first character is going to be character 0, 1, 2, 3 right here, okay? And then if you look here, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 is the next one. So the first character is 0, and then you just go right down the string. That's how that works there. So now we know where all of the spaces are. Now that we know that, well, what if we were to then say, well, why don't we just take the words that are between the spaces and fill them into an array here of so many words, if you will. So let me go over here back to Crimson. Step number 3. Step number 3 has a word array. And in this case, I'm using the mid function to find that word in there, and I put in the first character. And then I'm also doing a combination of the strip. So I think you could do this with some other math, but I'm finding the word, and then at the end, I actually still have the space. So I'm using the strip to get rid of the space. And then I do a for loop. After the first element 0, then the next one goes element 1, element 2, all the way to the end. And I fill in all the array elements of the thing called word with all the words. So let's go back to the emulator to see if this happens. I'm going to press step number 3. Boom. There they are. All the way broke down. And then I also got rid of the period on the dog. So anyway, there's my words. Okay. So now, and there's many ways you can do this. This is the way I did this thing. You guys can find other ways. But step number 4 then is the next. The way I think I did this, I was doing a couple different ways, but I grabbed the length of the search character. Now, this probably doesn't really matter, but I grabbed the length of the search, which means how long is the search thing here. So if I go back to my emulator, hit step number 4, it's 3. Originally, I was going to break this string up into 3 characters each time. That's where this came from, but I'm not really using that now. And then I was going to break this up into 3 and find it. But instead, what I did here is step number 5. Over here, step number 5. Here's my step number 5. By the way, as I'm doing this video, if you want to write this down, you can stop the video anytime here and watch this and put it in your own code if you want to. I hope this shows up on the video fine. So anyway, step number 5, I go through and I ask, okay, the search, which in this case is the word fox, and I increment word J to look to see if it finds a match, then I put whatever element that was into some other array called match J, and then I mark the word found with J as well, and then I increment a hit thing in case there happens to be multiple foxes in the sentence or so forth. So if I go back to Crimson here, boom, let's go ahead and press number 5. Boom. So I found one version of fix of a, I'm sorry, it found one hit of Fox, and apparently it found it here when J was letter 3. Okay, so it kind of look over here, 0, 1, 2, 3 is here. Anyway, so that's interesting because step number 6, I wanted to highlight over here where it found the word. Now I can visually see, but I really want to highlight over here. So let me go back to step number 6 over here. Step number 6, when it found that value match, I have another tag called border J, which I believe over in data tags, border J is a flag tag. So that's either going to be 1 for on or 0 for off if it didn't find a match. And then what I did in the Crimson, all of these elements here, these words, if I zoom in, let's say I double click on this one. There's word 0. But if I go to the Edge tab, look, it's linked to border 0. So all I did is I went over here, and the easy way is to expand this, and you can drag this guy right here, boom, like that, or you can put, let's see if I put something else, border 4, but that's supposed to be 0 because the first one is word 0. The next one will say bit 1, 2, and 3. So if I go back to my emulator, where's my emulator? Right here. And if I press 6, boom, look, it highlighted that one. So let's say, for instance, change this to the word over, O-V-E-R. There. And I'm going to do, I also wrote a program here called Clear Everything. Over here in Programs, there's a program called Clear. It just clears everything out. So if I hit it, it clears all the variables out, starts fresh. Oops, I don't know what the heck that's doing there. Let me go back to my Crimson here. All right, so let me clear here. Let's do it again in steps. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's over. Nice. Now, this last one here is do all steps. So what I did when I was trying this, I was trying to do all one time and I got frustrated with it. So I broke it down into these steps like I did here. Notice I put these numbers in here. Once I got all these working, I combined them all together into one program called Do Some Sorting. So and this also is where I added a bunch of text. So if I email this to somebody, they can see what I'm doing and so forth. But here I just copied all those codes into here. And this does it all at one time. I do need to point out one thing here. Way up on top, I call that clear everything right here one time. So it does that right away. So if I go back here to my emulator, let's go ahead and click here. Well, it doesn't matter. And let's change this to the word lazy, L-A-Z-Y. There we go. And if I do all the steps, let's see what happens. Here we go. 1, 2, 3. There's lazy. I think it's pretty cool. That's, I mean, now if I change this to brown, it's B-R-O-U. Do all steps. It clears everything. You don't see it clear because it's fast, but hey, that's pretty cool. And I thought my purpose of this is to use a simple sentence because all my other videos on this protocol thing, I'm doing a real protocol. I wanted to break this down to something a little bit easier that people could understand. So anyway, I wanted to show you here the data tab. I got some raw stuff in here I was playing with. And then if I go back to main, I did do this mid function. And the mid was because you can use it. Oh, I see I need to change that font. But you can use this to start position and it show you the results. So if I leave position 0 and put here 3 mid, it finds the word the. Let's say at 5 here. So that gives me 5 characters past. Now if I put the what, you can see how that works. Okay. Anyway, so I put this as a way to play with the mid. I need to change the background color so you can see the font. That's no big deal because the font's black, and then when I do that, that's why the problem. Now I can fix that real quick here. If I go over here, go to my mid, right click on this page, go to properties, you can see it right there. And we change this to white. And now it might show up, but well, let's try it real quick. Save. We'll just Shazam this down to our little emulator. And there it is. Hit the mid. And see, now you can see it. So the beauty now is, you know, if you put in sign here and count of, I don't know, 5, that comes out brown. It needs to have 6. So I used mid to do some of that work, which is over here in the programs. You'll see me use mid right in here. See, mid. Anyway, if you want to copy this program, hey, don't be shy. Send me an email. I'll certainly send it to you. If you want to, you know, break down the video here and pause it. So, for instance, you can pause and write all that stuff down there. And then if I slide down to 3, there's 3. And so forth, 4 and 5. It's all in here. Or if I go over here, here's step 1. I pause. You can pause the video, do that work. Come back. Here's step 2. Pause, take a look at that. Here's step 3, pause. Step 4, there you go. I don't think you really need that. Well, anyway, step 5 is there. Well, you need it there because I would do a search on that. And then step 6, there. And then here's the mid function. That's all the mid is. Hear that beep? It's closing. So anyway, send me an email. Copy this. I'd like to share it with you. Hey, thanks a lot. See y'all later.